region play is done. The playoff picture is in full focus now. Still
Yep.
kind of looking and seeing who is where and who's playing who in the first round. Even though we still have 1 week of regular season left, but playoffs is really close.
Very close, just 2 weeks away, and we want to welcome everybody in. Sorry for the change from last night. We just got pushed back, and so we join you on our regular Friday nights. I'm Kevin Taylor. This is Teddy Couch, and welcome to the Gadsden Times Football Review. Be sure to go to thegadsdentimes.com. Look at stories, photo galleries, videos, some big wins tonight. Another team gets their first win of the season. So we're down to one team left in Etowah County that has not won a game this year. And what was it? About 4 weeks ago, we had five.
Yeah, we've knocked off one every week. So.
Yeah, so we're on a roll. Yep, you could say that we're definitely on a roll. So let's run down the scores from around the area. Gadsden City picks up their first win of the season with a 17-14 win over Grissom. Boaz falls to Etowah 35-14. Ohatchee over Gadsden 49-0. Sachs 12-0 over Glencoe. Albertville over Sardis 45-20. Southside over Crossville 6-3. West End, their number 3 win of the season, 38-21 over Woodland. Cleveland over Westbrook 7-0. Valley Head over Coosa Christian 51-8. Jacksonville over Hoax Bluff 35-14. Fife over Eider 47-0. The big upset of the night, and probably one of the biggest in the state, Walter Welborn knocks off Class 3A number 1 Piedmont 40-35 tonight. Cherokee County over Cleburne County 37-14. Collinsville shuts out Cedar Bluff 38-0. And Sandrock does the same to Asbury. They shut out Asbury 44-0. The playoff picture is now in full focus. And so, I don't know why we're playing Week 10. Let's just go ahead and go to the playoffs.
We got 4 county teams in the playoffs, and Dan has already commented who Etowah's got. They will be hosting Center Point at Jim Glover Stadium. And then the
dangerous Center Point team, too.
That's a very dangerous team. And then the other 3 county teams that are in the playoffs will be traveling. You got 2A, Westbrook will be traveling to Aliceville. 4A, Hoax Bluff traveling to Northside. And then Sardis, 5A Region 6, that Etowah's in. They're traveling to Central Clay. Etowah knows all about those guys.
Oh, yes, they do. So well. So enjoy Ashland. Some other notable games just around the area that really just kind of jumped out at me tonight. Again, Fife just being Fife, just blowing Eider's doors off last night, 47-0. Sylvania ended up shutting out a good Geraldine team, 28-0. That was kind of a biggie there. Arab, Lee Osment.
The Fighting Lee Osmonds.
Yeah. They ended up beating Madison Academy tonight. Arab's 5-4. If they end up winning next week against North Jackson, right?
Mm-hmm.
They will have a chance to end up having their first winning season since 2016. But I don't believe they're going to make it into the playoffs. And then in 2016, I think that was the last time Arab went to the playoffs. So, congratulations, Lee. That's a heck of a turnaround. Arab only won 1 game last year.
Yeah, 3 in the last 2 combined. Patrick just asked if they swap cross regions every year. He's about to get me off on a little rant. I don't really know what the deal with that is, how that works, but yeah, they do. I know they change them from last year to this year. I know in basketball, it seems like they change them sometimes, and sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
I don't really know how that works to the exact.
I don't think there is any exact science coming out of the HSAA. Oh, I'm sorry, was that out loud?
But so I don't really know exactly how that works. But yeah, I think they try to swap them every year, but I'm not 100% sure on how that works and how they decide that either.
I think they just do it on coin flip. I don't know.
Yeah, I really don't know how that works. A couple scores that really shocked me Let's see. Cleveland Westbrook was a kind of a shocker to me from last night. We had a lot of games move, as you already know, more than likely to last night because of the rain,
Hmm.
as it was just my goodness, rain was just pounding
Yeah,
today.
yeah. I mean, it was, the rain had subsided there at the start of the game that I was at. I was at the Gadsden City Grissom game, and I was like, oh man. And I was looking at the radar, and it looked like that our area was just kind of in a perfect little pocket,
Yeah.
and everything was moving to the northeast. And well, Mother Nature decided to throw a curveball. Man, she threw a one heck of a curveball. The bottom fell out just after the first quarter, and yeah, it was sloppy from there on out.
Yeah. Uh, Cleveland beating Westbrook last night. That was the only game this week that we have with playoff implications.
Yeah,
7-0 win for Cleveland. I really thought Westbrook would win that game.
I did too. But
Um,
then, and that was the game I was at last night. Westbrook just had the opportunities and did not execute. They were inside Cleveland's 20-yard line twice in the game in the second half, and just could not punch it in. They got it at I want to say Cleveland's 11-yard line. Uh, I think it was in the fourth quarter, and you know Westbrook lines up in the wishbone, and I thought, oh my goodness, we're really stepping back into Iron Man football, and just could not punch it in.
mhm.
And so, hats off to Cleveland. They played well enough to hold them off, and Westbrook, they just kept shooting themselves in the foot, and not so much as far as not being able to execute, but the penalties. I think they ended up with 10 penalties last night, and there were some tough penalties. Now there was one penalty with less than 90 seconds left. Uh, Westbrook still was alive, and they drove down and they threw just a nice little waggle play. And the kid caught the ball, and I want to say his last name was Morgan. He catches the ball, and I was way in front of the play, and here comes a flag, and I'm like, where is this coming from? And they called offensive pass interference against the kid. That nullifies the play, and they get pushed back, and they just couldn't rebound from there. And so, I'm not saying whether the call was good or not, but it's definitely one where I was kind of raising my eyebrow trying to figure out where exactly the pass interference was. Because, I mean, really, in that situation, it could have gone both ways.
Mm.
And so I'm sorry if you put the stripes on me right now, and that's the situation. I'm just going to let the game play out. I'm not going to determine the outcome of that game.
Right. And either way, Westbrook would have had to travel in the first round. It was just for either number 3 or 4 seed. So, but
Yep.
Westbrook is the 4 seed out of two at Region Six. And another one that really caught my eye: Southside barely beating Crossville 6-3. First off, a 6-3 score is just rare, anyways.
Oh
But
yeah.
that's one I really thought Southside would run away with. But they had a little bit of trouble on that one. But
And
like, they
wasn't
pulled.
Crossville up 3-0 in the third quarter?
I want to
Wow.
say, if I remember correctly, Southside didn't lead until like the last 2 minutes of the game. So it was tied for a while at 3-3, and then they,
Hmm.
two Nolan Johnson field goals put them ahead. But uh, there's a struggle, but I guess a win's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. And there again, and uh, hats off to Gadsden City. Hats off to Ollie Smith and his coaching staff and all the kids there. They were coming in basically on a 9-game losing slide because they had lost their first 8. They lost the week 10 last year to Clay Chalkville, so they were on a 9-game slide, and they jumped out, and they were ahead 17 to nothing. And I thought, wow, this thing's going to get out of hand pretty quick. But Grissom just kept chipping away, chipping away, chipping away, and they score 2 touchdowns. And it's about 5 minutes left to go in the game, and I'm like, well, this is a brand new ball game. And Grissom stopped Gadsden City, forced them to punt from Grissom's 47. And Daniel Sparks, let me tell you, this kid, ice in his, just nothing but ice cold water in his veins, punched the ball, and the guys, the gunners, ended up getting down there just perfect, just stood basically just inches from the goal line and stopped the ball and put Grissom at their own 1 yard line. Grissom couldn't do anything. Gadsden City runs out the clock to win 17-14 tonight.
Big for Gadsden City. I know next week they got a tough one with Clay Chalkville, so
Yeah,
good to go ahead and get that off your back. Instead of having been like a do or die situation and get
yeah,
that first win. So
yeah.
congratulations to the Titans on that. Last night I was in Jacksonville to see Hoax Bluff face the Golden Eagles, and the Golden Eagles came out with a 35-14 win, their ninth consecutive over Hoax Bluff. Just to summarize that game, Ron Wiggins was just too much. I mean,
Wow.
kid was just running all over the field. Hoax Bluff really couldn't neutralize his speed once he got out, and he was just
Right.
unstoppable. I mean, at one point Jacksonville led 28-0, and Hoax Bluff made it look a little better, but it was just all Jacksonville.
That stat alone right there, 9 straight. That really kind of threw me because I didn't realize, there are just some teams that will have another team's number, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously Jacksonville's had Hoax Bluff's number for a while.
See, in the previous three before last night, they were decided by a combined 7 points. So,
Yeah.
it's been a heck of a battle. Usually that one kind of determines who's going to have the leg up in that region. So
Mm-hmm.
this year that wasn't the case. I mean, Hoax Bluff, if they had won that game, they would have needed Asheville to beat Anderson, and that did not happen. Not even close. I think that was
No.
35-0 Anderson at
Yeah.
halftime.
Yeah.
So I mean, Hoax Bluff was just kind of playing. That really didn't mean much of anything for him anyways. But
Yeah.
so no matter what, Hoax Bluff was in the playoffs, but they dropped last night to Jacksonville 35-14. And then I was at Glencoe tonight for Sachs versus Glencoe. I gotta give a shout out to Glencoe's defense. They look really good tonight. Forced 5 turnover on downs.
Wow.
Obviously, sloppy field conditions really helped
Yeah.
Glencoe tonight. Sachs clearly had the speed advantage over Glencoe, but that kind of
Yeah.
neutralized it a little bit. Not able to really get out in space and kind
Mm.
of do their thing. But just a couple of scores was the difference for Sachs. Glencoe just could not get it going offensively.
Mm.
But Sachs had 3 turnover on downs in the first half. Then Glencoe recovers a fumble at the Sachs 40. Then I think it was under 2 minutes left in the first half. Sachs gets to the 25. I mean, Glencoe gets to the Sachs 25 rather.
Yeah.
They just couldn't get back to the line of spike it. So Glencoe falls 12-0, but that was a really good effort by the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah. That score in itself kind of surprised me, but there again, playing on a super rain-soaked field, I mean that kind of evens things out a little bit.
Yeah,
there
Coach Brian
as
Allred
well.
thought that really could benefit them, and it did. Just weren't able to get things going offensively for the Yellow Jackets.
Yeah.
I'll tell you too, Valley Head and Valley Head, I'm sorry, and Coosa, 51-8.
That
And
was a bit surprising.
Yeah, I mean, Coosa's just been scoring like crazy no matter who they're playing. Usually they're
Mm-hmm.
giving up a lot of points, but they're scoring just about 10 less or so.
Yeah.
But tonight they just
I want
weren't
to
able.
say it didn't. Now doesn't Valley? I think I heard this right. Is that Valley Head finished second in their region?
I believe that is correct.
So and they're going to host the playoffs. So obviously Valley Head's really, last year they were kind of the doormat of the region, one of them, and to get things turned around so quickly. So congratulations to Valley Head. That's a whale of a win for them. So there's some teams that really have kind of turned things around. Walter Wellborn to knock off Piedmont. There for a while, Walter Wellborn wasn't really that strong of a football team, and they've just year in year out they've gotten better and better, and they come away with a huge win over number 1 Piedmont tonight, 40-35.
I do want to say, actually, on second thought, that Coosa score, Coosa relies so much on throwing the ball with the conditions, and that's really not as shocking as if you really think about it. Not It's going to really limit you through the air with the way the weather was today. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that probably played a big factor in that as well too. Brad points out that Hewitt upset number 1 Thompson. He said he believes Thompson is ranked 25th in the country. Yeah, that's
a big upset.
That is a huge one.
Yeah.
Hewitt's kind of struggled this year.
Yeah, I mean they've not played very well this year, and they've just kind of been up and down. It's definitely one of those teams you really can't figure out. It just depends upon when they show up. Which team's going to show up. Kind of the same way, Gene Hill's kind of talked about his team at Sardis. Which team's going to show up? And for 3 quarters, Sardis really showed up well against Albertville yesterday. And then all of a sudden in the fourth quarter, daggum, the wheels just fell right off. And Albertville wins 45-20. They've advanced. They're going to play in the playoffs. And congratulations, Albertville. You get the number 2 team in the state, Muscle Shoals, at Muscle Shoals.
Yeah,
but at least Albertville can say they made the playoffs.
Yeah, and Sardis got a tough year too with Central Clay. So
yeah.
Sardis, I remember I was checking last night when I was, in Jacksonville, and Sardis was up maybe by 1 or so.
Yeah.
And then I checked back, and then Albert was running away with it. So that one kind of shocked me. I know our guy behind the scenes here, Michael, he was there, and I want to say it was just kind of turnovers, and just seemed like one bad thing happened, and things just kind of continued to snowball from there. So
yeah.
Just a tough one for Sardis.
I'm just looking at some of the teams kind of outside of our area. Collinsville, they're in the playoffs. They went ahead and they finished off as number 2 seed. They lost to Fife earlier this year, but then they shut out Cedar Bluff 38-0. They'll host the first round of the playoffs. Let's see. Who else have we got?
We got to give a shout out to West End picking up win number 3 tonight. Kind of same thing with Coosa there, that I was wondering how much that would hurt their passing attack. Obviously, West End relies heavily on throwing the ball with Eli Pierce.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what happened at that game. I haven't been able to see any stats or anything, just know the score.
Isn't he knocking on 2,000 yards for a season?
I want to say he was hovering I could be wrong, 1,800 yards roughly before tonight's game. I could be wrong. But it's around that area for sure. And, West End would win number 3, and they could make it win number 4 next week against Glencoe. So, that's going to be a big county matchup. Both of those teams are going to, neither one of them's going to make the playoffs. But they have a chance to end the season with a win. Not many teams get to do that. So.
Yeah. Another team that I want to kind of recognize that really has fallen just completely off the radar, and nobody really knows very much about them, and that's Susan Moore up there in Sneed, undefeated. And I believe, I don't know whether they were off tonight or not, or whether they play next week, but they really have impressed, and they're coming in undefeated, and I believe they've won their region as well. That's another team that just really quietly has snuck up, and I would not be surprised if they make it a round or 2 in the playoffs.
Yeah, I know that's who West End started out with, and I was kind of looking back at West End's schedule. They've
played a tough schedule.
They really have, that kind of goes. Not many people mentions that, but you look at their schedule and you don't think of Susan Moore being an undefeated football team, but here they are. So big shout out to Susan Moore over there. They're quietly getting things done. Maybe they can sneak up on some people.
Yeah.
Etowah win last night, 35-14. That one didn't really matter for either team. They were both kind of locked in their spots. Etowah already won the region. Boaz was 4th, or they are 4th in the region. Big thing for Etowah was staying healthy, and I know they.
So who does Boaz get?
Boaz would have the 1 seed.
Is that going to be Mortimer Jordan?
That should be Mortimer Jordan, yeah. So that it don't matter who you get.
Yeah. Well, that whole region in itself is a strong region. I mean, and if any of these teams, Etowah or whatever, end up getting out of the first round, they will have played a quality opponent to open up the playoffs.
Daniel just asked a question that will make my head explode. He said, so if Etowah gets by Center Point, we are paired with 2 seed Madison County and 3 seed Scottsboro. If 2 seed wins, who gets the home game the following week? trying to figure out who goes where, just always, and it has something to do with who's
Usually, I think it
positioned.
has to be it's the positioning on the playoff grid. So if Etowah is on top of the bracket, they will host, unless it comes to travel, and then it's if the team that has traveled the most or the farthest ends up hosting. It's really convoluted, but I
I haven't seen
think
the layout
since
of it. Yeah,
Etowah will host, and whoever wins between Masson Academy and Scottsboro, uh, let's let's just say, just for the heck of it, that it's Scottsboro. Scottsboro would have been on the road, so then Etowah would have to go to Scottsboro because Madison County, if I'm not mistaken, won that region. So they would then, if it was Etowah and Madison County, it would depend upon positioning on the playoff bracket. It's very scientific.
it
I
really
mean,
is. Hey, April, thank you for staying up and joining us tonight.
yeah,
It's a late one. Uh, Etowah, the big thing with them really this week was staying healthy, and I think I saw Nana Davis got a bit banged up. Good thing is for Etowah, they can rest next week. They don't have to worry about a
yeah,
game to get ready. They need to be healthy because that center point game is going to be a tough one.
yeah.
You know,
As it was last
as
year.
it was last year. I know it was. Remember, we were getting all that rain last winter, and that was that one week where I know Southside. I want to say went to Jasper, and that field was just a
Hmm.
mess. And then Etowah went over to Center Point. That was that rain game. Etowah won that one 24-14,
Yeah,
and Center Point's much improved this year.
yeah,
So it's going to be interesting to see how Etowah. The main thing with Etowah is getting healthy. Brady Tripp did not play, but John Wallace Holiday stepped in and did a great job. But they're going to want Brady there to have
yeah,
so they can put John Wallace back out at receiver and
yeah,
to have all their weapons that they normally have. So,
yeah.
and then last night to finish up our county teams, Gadsden lost to Ahatchee 49-0. Gadsden is the lone team Etowah County remaining without a win, and they got Cedar Bluff next week. That's gonna be another toughie for the
Yeah,
Bulldogs.
that's tough. Before we hit into the playoffs in 2 weeks, we've still got Week 10 to get through, and we've got about a half dozen, close to a dozen teams still playing next week. Clay Chalkville will go to Gadsden City. Gaston goes to Cedar Bluff. Glencoe comes to West End. Sardis goes to Hoax Bluff.
That was interesting.
Cherokee County goes to Southside. Westbrook will go to Sandrock. New Hope comes to Coosa Christian. Albertville plays at Gunnersville, which is a huge rivalry there in Marshall County. Geraldine goes to Piedmont. I kind of feel sorry for Geraldine because I have a feeling a real pissed off Piedmont team's going to end up putting a woodshed whooping on somebody.
Here's the thing, though. Piedmont, they lost tonight to Welborn, and then they still win the region, though, because of a three-way tie.
Go
So,
figure.
so I saw Anderson Stars Joe Medley tweeted out that Piedmont did win that region. So,
Wow.
hey, you lose, but you still win the region. But like you said, I mean, Piedmont's definitely not going to be happy with that.
Mm-mm.
They don't lose region games often over there. I'm
No.
actually kind of, well, I'm sure they lost to probably last one's Randolph County, but
Yeah.
a year or two ago. But still,
That's
that's
yeah.
Piedmont don't lose those games often in the
No,
regular
they don't.
season.
And then Collinsville goes to Valley Head, and like I said,
Oh,
Valley Head's has improved. That should be a kind of a tough game, and I would think that Ernie would Coach Willingham over at Collinsville. I think he's going to kind of relish that game because it's going to get his kids ready to go to host that first round game in 2 weeks.
looking at those games next week, they mean nothing.
No,
Uh,
they don't. So how do you play them? If you're in the playoffs and you're a bit banged up, how do you play that game?
it has to be a case by case basis, really. I mean, I guess it depends on how banged up you are, and just
Yeah,
kind of what all you got in the bag. But at the same time, do you want to sit guys and kind of get them a little rusty? I mean, how do you
yeah.
it is
Because
difficult to have
I
to
mean,
how do you
let's be
approach that?
honest. I mean, Hoax Bluff is probably not the healthiest right now.
Yeah,
You know, do you do you sit your guys, let your young guys play against Sardis, and just kind of roll the dice? or a lot of coaches will say it doesn't matter. I'm not here to just throw a game. I'm here to win a game. So I'm going to put my 11 best out there. So I'll be interested to see how Mike Robinson plays the game next week against Sardis, because you got an opportunity to rest some of your players and get them ready for that stretch. And like I said, what was it, 3 years ago? Hoax Bluff was a number 4 seed in the playoffs, and they made a deep push, to the semifinals, right? And then didn't you say the year that they won the state championship, they were a 3 or a 4 seed?
Yeah, 01, they were the 3 seed when they won the state championship.
So, I mean, history is kind of on their side.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you mess with history?
And I haven't looked closely at that region they cross with, that north side's in. That's who Hoax Bluff will be traveling to for the first round of the playoffs. But I don't think that region's that strong. Like I said, I haven't dived too deeply into it. But, I mean, Hoax Bluff could be set. Sometimes when you travel in the first round, sometimes you're set up a little
Let's
nicer.
be honest. Hoax Bluff's region's not a cupcake region.
No, it's not.
That's a strong region.
Anniston was greatly improved this year.
Yes.
Jacksonville has just been, Ron Wiggins in the backfield.
Yeah, with that kid in the backfield.
And they got all kinds of athletes outside of him as well. Yeah. Aniana made a semifinal run last year, so we know how good they are. That's a heck of a region. Really
I mean, that's a really strong region.
You can't sleep on Center, Cherokee County.
No, you cannot. So. No. And I mean, and speaking of Center, I mean, they go to Southside. They can close out the season on a really high note if they end up winning on the road at Southside. Southside, playing for really, you
want to finish
playing
for
a little bit of momentum, because you want to have a little bit of momentum going into the spring season, going into the next year. You want something to build on.
And Southside's just had some tough breaks with injuries.
They really have.
Losing Chance Moon, that's just a tough one. You hate to see any senior, out for the year.
Yeah.
I know how much Chance loves football and playing out there, but just had some tough breaks this year. Just think if going all the way back to like week 3, whatever it was, when Sardis beat Southside. Now I'll be honest, I picked Southside to win that game, and if I have Nolan Johnson lining up for whatever 19-yard field goal, whatever it was. I mean, I'm picking Southside every time.
Oh yeah, scenario. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the week before he kicked one that was like almost 47 yards.
Right. And then Southside gave Etowah a heck of a run. For about 2 or 3 quarters. Southside's played good football. They just haven't really caught those breaks that you need to catch sometimes to make the playoffs like they did last year.
Yeah.
So that's football for you, though.
Game I really would like to see, if of all these, I really would like to see Albertville at Gunnersville. The quarterback at Gunnersville, he's a good quarterback. He's not bad. Albertville, they just got a lot of kids. They depth without a doubt played a huge factor last night against Sardis, because Sardis got so many kids that play both ways. Yeah. Meanwhile, Albertville, they probably dressed close to 100.
Right.
Those kids, my God, I mean, you keep looking down the daggum sideline and there's kids dressed out. I'm like, gee whiz, they dressed the entire 7th grade or what? No, they're just that deep. So that will be an interesting ball game. That's one to really keep an eye out for next week.
Can't believe playoffs is almost here. I feel like we just started it up.
2 weeks away.
Yeah, 2 weeks away.
And then everybody is 0-0, and the team that goes 5-0 will hoist the big blue trophy in Auburn.
Can somebody in the Etowah County drought? It's been since 2001. Hoax Bluff won it.
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
It has been.
Wow.
I don't even think a team's made the championship game since that, unless I'm mistaken.
I can't make a prediction like that, because, I mean, we sat here last year, I think it was, and we thought 2 teams from this county legitimately had a shot of going to Auburn and playing for a state championship. And they get tripped up either in the quarters or the semifinals. So,
just looking at our teams, you'd have to think Etowah's got the best shot, but they're pretty banged up, and that first round matchup is tough. It's crazy. You got a team as talented as Etowah, and them losing the first round is not crazy.
I still, and I know Mike Robertson's going to hate me for this, But if you have a rested and semi-healthy Hoax Bluff football team, they're dangerous.
They are
They
dangerous.
can be dangerous because their region has already prepped them for the playoffs.
That's true.
They're prepped for that playoff run. So I would be interested to see just what happens. And like I said, if he decides to rest some of his better players, you better watch out.
It's gonna be interesting. We're getting close.
Yep, yep. Christmas is almost here. And when I mean Christmas, I mean the playoffs. Folks, we appreciate your time. Again, like I said, Gadsden City gets off the schneid. They get a big win.
Congrats to the Titans for sure.
Yeah,
Big win.
absolutely. Big congrats to Ollie Smith, his coaching staff, and really to the daggum kids who sat in the rain.
Yeah.
I mean, it really poured down rain, but yet there was a group of student body from Gadsden City who stayed there the entire game. And I mean, those kids, they were singing in the rain, and I mean, yeah, absolutely, they were singing in the rain and having a good time. So, big congrats to Gadsden City. You get that big 600-pound gorilla off your back.
Yeah, it's good to see. You don't ever want to see a team go winless, and maybe Gaston get them one next week. They got one more shot to beat Cedar. They got Cedar Bluff next week, so who knows?
Yep,
You played the game for a reason.
that's absolutely right, folks. We appreciate it. Just kind of stay tuned. I've been hearing a few rumbles among some of my friends in the coaching profession that there may be some movement as far as games next week. So we may see some of these games get moved to Thursday. If so, be sure to go to thegadsdentimes.com. We will let you know who is playing on Thursday if they do get moved. So that is very possible. So again, just kind of stay tuned. Playoffs right around the corner. I'm pumped. I'm ready to go. And folks, our time is up. We thank you for yours.